What up, yo? What up? Um, super busy day for me today. I've had a lot of things on my plate, so didn't really have time to do any individual videos or anything like that. So I figured I'd hop in for a live show, get to a bunch of topics, a little therapy session for myself as well, because that is what this can serve as for me. Lots, so there's not really one big topic, and to be honest, there's no topic that called for a show per se. Nothing that was like, all right, Robin, you got to go live because you got to talk about this. But given I hadn't produced anything today, and given I love our interactions, I figured I'd run through a bunch of different things in order to scratch that itch, if you will. I mean, I did some videos on this yesterday, but head coach Stephanie White talked about Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, next season, kind of outlined some of her plans and the details behind what she wanted to do for the team. And I thought she sounded really, really smart. I mean, I know there were some people that lost their minds over the off-ball comments, which to me were ridiculous. I don't know if that's PTSD from Christy Sides or anything like that. But I think everything that Stephanie White said was essentially on point. She talked about targeting Clark on defense, basically getting her better on defense. And it's funny because when you look at it, I'm sure a lot of what Stephanie White is speaking about is from her perspective as the opposing coach. Right? Because the opposing coach was her in Caitlin Clark's first ever game in the playoffs. And she knows what she saw from the Fever. She knows how she went against the Fever. She knows, maybe she targeted Caitlin Clark on defense. And getting her off the ball just gives you a different look, all those sorts of things. And I also saw in the Indy Star today, I think it was Amber Cox discussed the priorities for the Fever in free agency. Priority 1 was bringing back Kelsey Mitchell. Priority 2 was Natasha Howard. And I do believe that might be the most slept on move of all of this. I think Natasha Howard is going to be absolutely awesome for the Indiana Fever. So I do believe Stephanie White clearly knows what she's talking about. Clearly is sharp, clearly is an upgrade over Christy Sides. And I just believe fans might be bored. I think fans just might be a little bit bored. And there's been this condition for outrage and angst. Even with the Bree Turner signing, how many people just lost their minds over the Bree Turner signing? And I'm thinking to myself, they keep saying the locker room, protect the locker room. This is the locker room. Where was there any proof? Where has there been any proof that there is any issue with Turner in the locker room on any of the teams she's played for? How is it a locker room issue? It escapes me. I don't quite get where that connection is coming from either in regards to what's going on. She sent some tweets. I get it. And I get where it comes from. Because even today, there was a little bit of a WNBA reverence tax clip that was circulating a little bit. Here it is. I don't even know who this person is. I know Ashley. I used to work with Ashley every day at SI for a little while. So I know Ashley Nicole Moss. I don't know who the partner is on this show. We need to talk now. I should look it up. But this was the clip I saw circulating earlier today.
I think it was a little weird the way that it came through. And a lot of people had things to say about positioning just Caitlin Clark, which I agree with, because she's not the only player that brought in revenue. She's not the only player who's bringing in eyes. She's brought in a lot. Her impact is great. But you could say the same thing for the entire rookie class that came in last year, and other players as well that are existing that are bringing in so many eyes to this league. So
no, you can't. That's just demonstrably false. And I say that as somebody who is a believer in the rest of the league is a promoter in the rest of the league who stands to benefit from the sport growing. But this idea, I mean, even hell, Kathy Engelbert said it last year. It's the whole rookie class. And I saw a clip from Caitlin Clark's agent today paying the WNBA reverence tax. It was all that was built before she got there. Yeah, we get it. And there are other players who do bring interest. Hell, look, I'm going to talk about Unrivaled later today. Unrivaled, the one-on-one tournament was a success. And look, Unrivaled, I think, so far, so good without Caitlin Clark. Right? Like, it cannot all be dependent on Caitlin Clark for the rest of eternity. That is also not a winning formula for a league or a sport to be completely dependent on one player. But the idea that Clark is not responsible for the lion's share or the explosion is just wrong. It's just wrong. There's no other way to put it. So it's why I do go back to last season, and I understand where fans get upset about the coverage and the way it went down and the way it was framed. Or even Angel Reese said, they're not just here for one player, they're here for me too. Angel has a fan base, no question. You know, the Liberty have a fan base. I was in the Barclays Center. The fans are there for the Liberty. I'm going to get to women's college basketball in a minute because that's growing all the time. But this nonsensical, not based in reality idea that Caitlin Clark is not the catalyst for all this or the Michael Jordan for the sport is complete and total rubbish, and you cannot be taken seriously if you say it. Because it's not based on anything other than feelings. And feelings aren't facts. Facts over feelings, I think, is the way it's put oftentimes. So I'm so tired of the WNBA reverence tax. Enough. It can go away. Abolish the IRS. No, abolish the WNBA reverence tax. All right? Like, enough is enough. We get it. No one's, and I think the wild part of it is, the irony is everyone else is getting so much more credit as a result of the focus on one player. Asia Wilson's shoes would not get the attention that they're getting if not for Caitlin Clark having come into the league. Women's college basketball would not be growing the way it is if not for Caitlin Clark coming into the league. Hell, Unrivaled would lose some of the interest that it has if not for Caitlin Clark having come into the league. Because a lot of those fans are the same ones who are watching Unrivaled now. And I promise you, if you just did like a blind survey of observers and fans from a year ago to today and said, like, how many of these players can you identify? The number that people could identify now is so much greater than they could identify then. So it isn't just about one it is. I've said it before. My North Star in starting this and seeing how it all developed was that I could take the one person and build off of that. And, I've covered sports for a long, long time, and, the Yankees are the most popular baseball team. The Cowboys are considered America's team. But I've never seen one player grow a league the way that this has happened. Because that, and that is the way, like, people talked about Magic and Bird and then Michael Jordan. Or as Jay-Z said, I'm Michael, Magic, and Bird all rolled in one. If I am better than Big, I'm the closest one. Golf, Tiger Woods bringing. It's not as if the WNBA didn't exist. It's not as if the WNBA would have gone out of business. But the idea that you cannot directly tie the explosive growth to the WNBA to Caitlin Clark is insane. It's an insane position, and you cannot be taken seriously if you say it. I'm sorry. You just can't. It's verifiably false. The ratings for her games are 300% higher. The draft, when she came in, 6 times larger. The Iowa game, the most watched women's game in history or whatever. The championship. The merchandise, the most. enough. The attendance. Look at where they're moving the crowd. Now, hopefully, the trend continues the same way. And I think it will. Because if you look at women's college basketball ratings, I mean, the UConn and South Carolina game peaked at over 2 million viewers. So did the Texas and LSU game, peaking at over 2 million viewers. All of you, that is incredible. It's incredible. And it shows you that women's basketball now as a whole is a wave. And that whole saying of a rising tide lifts all boats is not a BS expression. It exists for a reason. And I think you're seeing that play out now. And to be honest, with the way that the NBA has trended, I would have told you were absolutely nuts. But I don't know if women's basketball can't surpass men's basketball. I think that is a realistic thing, not a pipe dream. It's crazy to see. I think the WNBA product is better right now. And the college product is better because people get an attachment to the players. Now, does that change when more money comes in? I want everybody to be fairly compensated. But there's an argument that it will change when more money comes in. Because the money incentivizes the college players on the men's side to leave early. The money makes it harder for you to, campaign for NBA players to want to try at all-star games and stuff like that. Butters, what are you doing? Have you guys met Butters before? I don't know what this dog is doing right now. I know you've met the kids. But this dog is here too. Butters will die for me. And as cute as she is, I cannot tell you how annoying she can be at times. But like I said, I had a lot going on today. And I have a lot going on in general. So I haven't been able to dive in and cut up separate videos. So I figured a live show was the best way for me to hit on a bunch of different things. I also saw Paige Beckers talk to Sportico today about her businesses and the like. And she brought up white privilege in the interview again. And it is strange how, I don't remember white privilege ever coming up in men's basketball. I'm not saying that white privilege is not a thing in society or hasn't been a thing in society, or that there haven't been a difference in the way black and white or white and other people are treated. Of course. I mean, and of course there is historical precedent and the idea that there aren't long-lasting ramifications from the history of the country and even to this day. I mean, that's also naive. But when you look at, I think both trends, things tend to trend in the right direction. And then just sports, which are a meritocracy, I don't understand where that comes from per se. And one of the weird things about it is the percentage of white players who are really good on the women's side versus the men's side. And I don't know exactly how to put my finger on that or how to articulate that, because is it white, does Eminem have white privilege in the rap game? I mean, I would argue that Eminem had to fight harder to get where he was and then probably benefited once he was there, if that makes sense. Because you had a bunch of kids who didn't listen to rap music before and saw somebody they could relate to and bought his work and whatever. But it was the skill and talent that got him there. And he had to fight through the idea of you're a white rapper, so you don't belong. I don't even think it's the same in basketball to that degree, but Caitlin Clark comes up all the time with the white privilege thing. And Caitlin Clark is far from the first white player who's been very successful. You know, uh, Sabrina Ionescu before her, and Brianna Stewart before her, and so on and so forth. Diana Taurasi is not black. There are so many different players who have come through the league, great white players, and it just came up in a sense to Caitlin Clark. And then now with Paige Beckers to a degree as well, though I don't, is Paige Beckers benefiting from white privilege right now? If anything, I think she's probably being criticized a little bit more harshly than a lot of folks. Maybe you could argue her brand power is higher because of it. But, on the men's side of things, it's not as if Michael Jordan struggled to sell shoes, or LeBron James struggled to sell shoes, or Steph Curry has struggled to get views. So I don't quite get it to the extent that it's presented. I think it's because Caitlin Clark came in and shook up the apple cart a little bit. Now, Paige is entitled to feel the way she feels and say what she wants to say. Don't get me wrong. And I don't have her experiences, so I can't speak for her. Then I mentioned Unrivaled. Unrivaled also had a successful one-on-one tournament. I think, they got their highest viewership. Peak viewership was at its highest for the one-on-one tournament. So you have to consider that a success for Unrivaled. And I'm rooting for Unrivaled. Like, I don't get the negativity that's spun out of this scene either. I mean, like, I understand, like I said, that there is some backlash to the way that things went down last year. And that led to a tendency to focus on drama and stir up crap. But like the people losing their minds over the Bree Turner thing, relax. Or losing their minds over Stephanie White saying that Caitlin Clark is going to play off the ball some. Relax. Or, rooting for the downfall of Unrivaled as if it is a benefit to you if it fails. Relax. Who does Unrivaled hurt? That's why who is hurt by? No one is hurt by it. It is only a possible positive. It makes absolutely no sense to root for it to fail. Absolutely no sense. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up. Give me the shares. Give me the comments. All those things. Super chats, of course. Member chats get read first. Like I said, I don't know if I have time to cut up a bunch of separate videos today. So I figured the best way to interact and get in touch with everybody was throwing up a live show. Stern, a.k.a. Chris, says things have calmed down. Then CC Worthless Agent gave an interview. All started up again after that. What did her agent say that was wrong? She's right. You cannot possibly compensate Caitlin Clark appropriately. This is how CBAs work. It's how unions work. It's just the same as the NBA. There's a max contract in the NBA. You don't think that LeBron James, and by the way, I really like the pink apple and lemon flavor. You don't think that LeBron James and Steph Curry are worth more than other players? What are you doing, Doug? You don't think that, you could easily argue they should be paid 10 times as much as some other players? But they get a max contract. There's only so much they can make. Same thing's going to go for Caitlin Clark in any deal that works out here. So Caitlin Clark's agent is correct. And all these people were on her agent all the time. Do you realize how that works? Like, agents work for the players. Caitlin Clark has to sign off on anything that happens. She doesn't get to, her agent's not, and Clark is not one of these. You're not going to see Caitlin Clark with the same type of deals that Angel Reese gets, because Angel Reese is much more of an influencer type than Clark. And I'm not saying that to disparage either of them. It's just the truth. Angel's done a terrific job, and her people have done a terrific job marketing her and pushing her and all that. But Clark is not a limelight seeker. You know, all these speaking engagements she's doing. You think those came from nowhere? You know? I'm going to start with this one from the bottom because I just talked about this. Remember, super chats and member chats get read first. I think I saw AJ in here. Let me find his before I put this other comment on the screen. Because, I don't get this obsession with, I guess maybe it's just not my lane. I'm not obsessed with negativity. And I understand that negativity can sell. Like, I get it. But I'm not going to rage bait. It's just not who I am. Matt Munson says, Unrivaled is an abject failure. By what measure? You're typing those words on the screen? By what measure is Unrivaled an abject failure? Because they got a lot of sponsorship deals. Players got paid. The one-on-one tournament did pretty good numbers. The opening weekend did pretty solid numbers. They've kept a decent audience the entire time. What makes it an abject failure? What? I can type a sentence too. But at least I'm giving you numbers behind it. What makes it an abject failure? Somebody enlighten me. Exactly, Eric. Unrivaled, it's fine. It's not supposed to be this huge league. It's like it's a niche. Katie Bullock says abject failure as the NBA is about to copy to them to save their all-star. Phil Liberty says I'm cooking. I mean, like the negativity thing, guys, come on, calm down. I just opened, I started at the top. There is one player who is responsible for the explosive growth in everything, and it is Caitlin Clark. To say otherwise is asinine, stupid, and delusional. But then to take that fact and root against anything continuing to thrive and the rest of it continuing to grow and any other successes only to try to continue to make that point is also stupid. Let's be reasonable. These two thoughts can coexist. Caitlin Clark is responsible for the explosive growth in women's basketball. True. Women's basketball is going to continue to grow, and more players are going to become celebrities, and more teams, and more ratings, and more opportunities are going to come that don't involve Caitlin Clark. Why is that problematic? What's the issue? What's up, the Pope? Yep, Eric, lots going on. Come back from vacation and I get hit with, I got decisions to make. You guys will know when I talk about them, but they're nothing bad, by the way. It's just, lots going on at the same time. Stressful. I want to take a nap. And that's why I didn't have, like I said, I didn't cut up a bunch of videos today. And I figured this was the best way to tackle everything, even without a specific topic on the table. But one of the things I can count on now, and this is a testament to you guys and to me, is like I can just fire this sucker up and there are going to be people in here. It doesn't, there's never a time when I fire this sucker up and we don't get an audience. Even with, we're really in we're in a little bit of the free agency thing was a big jumping point. Like it got a lot of attention and it was big, but we up until March Madness, you got a little bit of you got this little bit of a lull until March Madness, and then a little bit of a lull, probably till the WNBA season starts. Just the way things naturally go. And maybe that's part of the reason for, people getting all stir crazy and stirring up drama because they're just bored. And people get conditioned in a certain way, like I think that you almost got addicted to the drama. Thank you, AJ. AJ, Kev, Ernesto, they've been with me from the beginning. Though Ernesto doesn't get grouped with AJ and Kev anymore. He's always late to every chat. We'll see if he shows up. All right, I'm going to go back to the top of the screen, y'all. Again, please like, subscribe, comment. Any super chats and member chats come in first. Chris Buckles says, Robin, thank you for bringing a high level of professionalism and accuracy to your audience and channel. After several bad experiences, I don't look to any other sources for this type of content. I appreciate the number of comments I get that are just like this. And it doesn't go unnoticed. And obviously it's intentional on my part. And I got to tell you, I see some of the videos sometimes, and I'm not talking about anybody specifically, just like I see some of the videos with these huge view counts and with these wild titles and thumbnails. And I'm sorry, I just can't do that. Like, I just can't. So I trust in the consistency and the authenticity to have you guys keep coming back and to trust me. Versus trying to get as many people as I can with each upload, if that makes sense. Tulip Play says, hi, Robin. I feel like White's focus is to play winning basketball, not what's going to make CC's box score look good. She indicated turnovers are a real issue, so may look to use Clark off ball. Well, I think, again, it's, Stephanie White did the scouting report for the Sun against the Fever. So she knows when they look predictable. She knows, how they might have targeted Clark on defense or how they might have read what she was trying to do for the turnovers. I don't think the off-ball thing is like a turnover-based thing. I think it's just mixing up the looks. Steph Curry plays off-ball, giving Clark a rest. You play on-ball all the time. It's going to be harder for you to play good defense because you're just going to be naturally physically worn down. It's also going to be harder for the defense to keep track of her off the ball when they're used to her on the ball. It's just mixing up what you do, the types of attacks. And now that the Fever have upgraded their personnel, it makes it more of a luxury that they can do. Versus they were so reliant on Clark to create so much of their offense. In fact, she created more offense than any player in the history of the sport last year as a rookie. Now, will that be the case again next year? Maybe not. I think what you'll see maybe is that productivity volume come down with the efficiency going up and the numbers being pretty consistent as a result of those two things. Eric asks how many people in the chat would be watching the WNBA if Caitlin didn't enter the league in 2024. Not that many of them. Look, how many different people have launched something based around Caitlin Clark in this time period, or the Fever? How many different folks are doing the exact same thing I'm doing? I mean, Caitlin Clark's the biggest star in sports. Not to mention just basketball. And if you don't like it, I don't give a shit. I'm tired. That's the other thing I'm tired of. I will talk to the fans who get way out of pocket and like I said, or are spinning everything negatively or shitting on Unrivaled for no reason, or other players for no reason. But at the same time, no, you don't have to tiptoe around what is blatantly and obviously true because somebody might cry about it. Suida says, I didn't have an issue with the Turner signing or what she did last year as a member of the Sky, but she should have known her agent and front office fault for making sure she didn't engage fans. Well, look, I mean, the fans kind of attacked her. They went back to attack her. And she had a little sense of pride about it. But who cares? Just scroll past the tweet or don't follow her or block her or something. Look, there's a difference between like if she starts taking shots at her teammates or does things to undermine the success of the season, then you have a real problem. If you just disagree with something she says, tough. Or if you don't want her to express her opinion because you'd prefer, you know, that not be part of your sports, that's your right, but it's also her right to say and think whatever she wants. And I get there may have been some stuff that was like sort of passive aggressive or shady or whatever word you want to use. Like I understand, I've seen it, but I also don't think it was like beyond reproach or something you can't just move past. And it was different than say like the other players were kind of welcomed with open arms versus like people were throwing a fit about it and she saw it. What do you want her to do? I mean, she could have, yes, she could have maybe extended an olive branch. Fair enough. But I understand like she was not welcomed quite the same way. What's up, Henry? Comfort share. Stephanie White also gave Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark kudos for the growth. Look, Angel Reese is a star. There's no question. But one of these things is not like the other. It's not like it's like a tag team. If it was a tag team, Caitlin Clark is Shawn Michaels and Angel Reese is Marty Jannetty. But at that same token, by the way, Angel played great last night. She was great. And she's great for the sport. And she is a star in her own right. There's no question. But it's just a false equivalency to say anybody else was on the same level. The data tells you this. It's not my opinion. It's a matter of fact. In this case, one person did grow a league, Farrell. It's just the truth. Michael Jordan grew the NBA. You don't think so? Tiger Woods grew the PGA. You don't think so? I mean, this is also a valid point, too. Social media followers are not the same as tickets purchased or television ratings. That's true, too. And other players are going to get there. And those players have gotten to a certain level. I'm not taking anything away from them. But, people ain't go see the Avengers because of Hawkeye. Tariq, no one said everyone only watches for CC. No one said that. What I said is that she is clearly responsible for the lion's share of the growth and the explosion in the sport. Not that there wasn't incremental growth before, not that there aren't other players that are popular, not that there aren't other teams that are popular, not that there won't be teams that get more popular as it goes along, not that there won't be colleges that get more popular as it goes along. But there is a cause and effect here, y'all. It is not a coincidence. It is not a media conspiracy. It is not an illusion. It is simply the reality. And I just don't understand why people have such a difficult time. Go get him, buddy. Dealing with that reality. I don't know, Man Brown won. Like, what other players were asked to denounce racism? Because I don't think the attention was on the league that much. I think a lot of these people who, peddled the bullshit that they were peddling last year, got to peddle it without any pushback. I mean, Tulip plays. I think this is the same thing with every fan base, though, and every stand base. Like, that's just what happens when you grow the volume. RC Hawkeyes Bruins fan says Lindy Smallwood. I'm one of the biggest Caitlin Clark fans out there, but even I was unprepared for the Caitlin fast rolling Amtrak train to hit the WNBA. Again, I don't think people realized it. That it wasn't a flash in the pan. That it wasn't, you know, um, Tebow Mania or Linsanity or any of those things. Comfort Sheriff, this makes no sense. The reason why you won't notice the difference is because most people who followed Caitlyn did so because of the controversy. They ain't a fan of the sport, while Angel Reese fans care about the sport. A lot of the Angel Reese fans I've seen have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to basketball. Now, some of the Caitlin Clark fans, same thing. They weren't basketball fans before they became attached to Caitlin Clark, and they're more, and this is for a portion of them, again, they're more like, I don't want to say cult follower, but like, celebrity following. It's like when Stephanie White says she's Taylor Swift in tennis shoes, right? Or I think Colin Cowherd says that, and Stephanie White says she's Taylor Swift 2.0. Yes, okay, but Caitlin Clark's popularity is based on basketball, first and foremost. The reason her popularity spread was basketball. First time anybody saw was the logo 3 that got spread everywhere. And I saw Kevin Durant talking about it. And then I watched and I was like, holy crap. And then I saw her beat, her and Iowa beat South Carolina and go to the national championship. Then I saw, her break the all-time scoring. Remember, Caitlin Clark broke the all-time scoring record. She has scored more points than any player, male or female, in NCAA history. In the same season, she led the nation in assists. Then she goes into the WNBA and breaks the all-time assist record and produces more points than anyone else ever has and breaks all sorts of rookie records and is fourth in MVP and is first team all WNBA. It is about basketball with Caitlin Clark first and foremost. Henry says, I appreciate you don't sensationalize the negative. People ignore that Bree Turner played with Sophie and Dewana at Phoenix. Fever front office is doing fine. Yeah, there's another point for you. Like, it's not like she has a bad reputation. This is not a Kennedy Carter situation. And Kennedy Carter's a tremendous talent, but obviously there's something going on, like real locker room issues there. Thank you for the chat. Again, super chats, member chats, get read first. Eric says, my story is I never cared about sports. I have no friends that watched any sports, and my wife hates sports. CC videos started showing up in my YouTube feed, and next thing you know, I'm a big WNBA fan. Yeah, there you go. Kwanzaa Rod says it's the W. There will always be drama. I don't know. I don't know why. Stafford Lee says white privilege came up for two main reasons: $1 million deals and 2, unprecedented attention happening in a post-George Floyd world. Look, I don't know how to like sum up the George Floyd part in a couple sentences. I almost go to tears every time I even think of that, regardless of what any, substances or whatever people want to go to and run to, like just human to human. You don't want to see somebody suffer like that. And it's hard. It was heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. And it did cause an explosive change in maybe like the social justice narrative, if you will. And then I think from that point on, companies were so afraid of being seen as not, they were so afraid of not being viewed as inclusive or fair or PC that everybody went a little nutso. The $1 million deals are because of the attention that Caitlin Clark brings. I mean, as simple as that. And that's just supply and demand, business. Angela Z23 says she enjoyed the 1 versus 1. Real Money says, let's be real. Who was really locked on women's sports before they heard about the girl shooting from half court? I mean, yeah, it goes beyond just basketball. It is true for women's sports too. And this is a once in a lifetime thing. Pink Apple's really solid. Ow. I need to shave my facial hair here. I just caught. My daughter also stabbed my toe with her toe. It's pretty deep. It's been bleeding for a couple days. Hannah, I like Unrivaled, and the 1 versus 1 was fantastic. Although they should have done guards versus guards and bigs versus bigs. If the guys do one they need to do by position for sure. But then it's not 1 versus 1. Wayne Whaley says, hey, Robin, how do the Fever get back under the salary cap by May? Well, I think they got to, they got to move. I have to look at their cap situation, but, one of the things that helped was the Katie Lou thing. Who's at the end of the bench? It's like Dantas and Wallace are the only 2 players kind of unaccounted for in the future plans right now. Michael S. says it's tough that in Unrivaled the players are on different teams. They really need to start extending the WNBA season and not worry about overlapping with the, I guess he meant to say NBA. I liked it before the injuries. Look, injuries are a part of anything. Yeah, I don't think people associate certain players with certain teams in Unrivaled. I think that's fair. But yeah, the WNBA offseason is far too long. So until that is changed, there's no downside to Unrivaled for anybody. C-Man says, what makes Unrivaled a success? That was a response to a comment I said before. I didn't say success, failure. I think what makes it a success is people are getting paid. I think they got a lot of sponsorship deals. I don't know what the details of those are, but those weren't free. And that it's not going to go under after this year. And that they got a decent-sized audience. Their audience for these things is comparable to what the WNBA audience was before Caitlin Clark. Ron Mag says I should do a live stream with John and Mick. Anybody's welcome to join. Charles19 says, I appreciate the strategic approach CC and her team is taking. She's in it for the long haul. Yeah, they're not. Trust me, Caitlin Clark understands who she is, her significance, and all that. She's not trying to make a quick buck. Let's put it that way. Or just sell it while it's hot or anything like that. See, again, Caitlin don't play on Unrivaled. What makes Unrivaled a success? So what? Caitlin doesn't play in it. So what? Timothy says Unrivaled sucks. Oh, great point. I just don't understand rooting against it. I just don't understand. You don't have to like it. No one's saying you have to. No one's saying you have to watch it. No one's saying you have to care about it. But why are you like, it seems like people are rooting for it to fail. Why? What does that do for you? Sponsorship doesn't make a product successful. Well, it makes money, Lindy. That's what sponsorships do. They bring in revenue. I don't know what the deals are, so I can't say with any confidence. But the off season is also so long. It's like twice as long as anything else. Element Gold says our brains give a quick reaction to anger. It's a defense mechanism. Bored people get quick stimuli through anger. I guess so. JD Mac 44 says she's unsubscribed from a few. Look, I mean, I'm not telling anybody who to watch, what to do. I'm just telling you what I'm about and what I'm going to do. And like, I'm not going to sit here and get pissed off about everything every day just because it might draw in more views for one video. Timothy says, not a sycophant like you. I mean, I get called every different thing unless you're talking to somebody else. Like I get yelled at by Clark fans for saying positive things about Unrivaled or whatever, or Fever fans for saying, the Turner tweets aren't that big a deal. And then I get yelled at by other people for being a Caitlin Clark stan, whatever. Stafford Lee says Fever season is going to be epic for sure. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, super chats, member chats, definitely appreciated. We've been low on them today. Where are they? Charles Anderson, Robin. Yeah, I also think I've, I feel like I'm one of the people who has done the most coverage of the most women's basketball things on the earth. Yes, a lot of Caitlin Clark. There is no question. A lot of Fever, a lot of Caitlin Clark. I've never lied about that or shied away from that. Where are we at in the chat? Sorry, there's a lot of them. Harder for me to sort through. Even on a slow day like today, because ain't nothing actually going on. Butters is actually not a puppy, but that dog you saw is 11 years old. And yes, named after the character from South Park. What makes you say Steph White isn't an upgrade? Philip Morris. One offhand comment in a deep analytical analysis of what she's going to do with the team. Justin Bruno says, I genuinely don't understand the Angel Reese popularity. There are other attractive black women in the WNBA that are way more skilled than Angel. Rickea Jackson is stunning, and she's a bucket. Well, look, Angel has a charismatic personality. You can like it or not, but she does. She obviously has the attachment to Caitlin Clark from winning at LSU, and this one moment that is impossible to replicate. Like, that is a big, massive pop culture moment. Again, like it or not, it's a big, massive pop culture moment. And Angel, for all the fact, she may not be the most skilled offensively, and look, trust me, the layup thing is a real concern, a real criticism. But we also can't act like she's not a good player and doesn't bring value to the floor. I mean, what did she have? 15 boards and 16 points in Unrivaled, whatever the stat line was. I mean, we saw her in the All-Star game. She played well with the other All-Stars. She's got a motor. She's got great hands on the perimeter as a defender. She has, the potential to get better if she can finish and work on her game and fine tune her game a little bit. So that's the other thing with Angel. Sometimes people go over. It's fair to critique her, but we can't go overboard and act like she's a bum. Oh, Professor says, love the content, Robin. Thank you. Thank you for the chat. I'm sure Angel's already made a ton of money. Don't get me. I mean, I think she's doing real well for herself. Amy K says, I never remember Tarazi being asked to acknowledge her privilege. TXZ06 says, I heard about Caitlin and started watching her junior year. I watched NBA for years, was more of a fan of pure shooting rather than dunks. I'm the opposite of Shaq. Fixed the NBA, raised the rim to 12 feet. Yeah, I've had this question a couple times before. How come we got press conferences for Natasha Howard and DeWanna Bonner, but no press conferences for Sophie Cunningham? One, they're better, bigger acquisitions. I mean, that I don't know Sophie's schedule, and I think Sophie's a good player. She was acquired by trade, but both, Sophie Cunningham is a very well-known personality in the WNBA. One, because of her looks, and two, because of the sort of her attitude, and three, because of the, discourse around her political beliefs or whatever. That I haven't even seen Sophie actually talk about this stuff, so I don't even know. I just go by what, people are all incessantly chatting about. So that's made her a bigger presence than maybe she is, I mean, Sophie Cunningham averaged 8 points a game last year. And I think she's going to help the team. Don't get me wrong. I think she's a good pickup, but she's not, they went out and said today, Amber Cox said priority number 1 was getting Kelsey Mitchell. Priority number 2 was getting Natasha Howard. That was their big signing, Natasha Howard. And then obviously DeWanna Bonner, for what she has accomplished in the league, is a big attention grabber. KB O'Mara says, I think Unrivaled showed us how these players get along better with each other than the media wanted us to believe. Ed E says, do you think the NBA planned team expansions are too aggressive? Not really. I mean, how many teams are they getting to right now? I mean, I think it's a good sign. AV says, off topic, USA versus Canada tomorrow night. 4 Nations face-off championship. On topic, go Lucy Olson. Is the first one hockey? I've seen some positive comments about that. And then Lucy Olson has played very well for Iowa this year. Outplayed Juju in that one game. What trolls have I fed today? I mean, I'm trying to put up some dissenting opinions, and some of them I use to get a point off. I mean, I don't know. Who do I have starting 5 for the Fever? Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Aaliyah Boston. Is this a good ratio? 85 out of 277. Hit the like button. Keep going. I don't know what the proper ratio is. I can see this, Jim Meesey, and WNBA talk is so rarely just basketball talk. Is draining sometimes. I mean, at this point in the offseason, it's tough because there's not really any basketball to talk about. I do my best to balance both because I love basketball, clearly, and I try to keep the focus on basketball. But some of this other stuff has come in, and I think I'm also well qualified with my background, my life, my profession, to wade into those waters as well. Thanks for this comment, Charles19. Trying to work my way through, guys. Lots of comments. Again, as I've said, if you want to make sure they get read, super chats and member chats are appreciated. Memberships, I guess I should say. We got another one here from Henry Patterson. Bonner and Howard are in Indiana. The other new players aren't there yet. Sophie had surgery and is doing commentary. Colson playing Athletes Unlimited. Brown overseas. So yeah, that could be part of it too. Just the way their schedules line up, their other obligations line up, things of that nature may prohibit them from being a part of Unrivaled at this very moment in time. But thank you, Henry. Howard did come back for the signing. That's correct. So did Kelsey. Shanna like Hannah, I've been waiting for the other press conferences for the Fever too. Also, I'd like to see ATs. I mean, I don't know if they'll have press conferences. All right, y'all. That'll about do it for me. Like I said, I had a lot going on, so there wasn't any real topic that I thought merited like this must be discussed. And I didn't have that much time, so I figured the best way was to hit a bunch of them and to interact with you. So got another minute or two if you want to get your last minute super chats or comments in. This is your chance. Please like, subscribe, and the rest. But I was on for almost an hour now. I guess I can round up. Feel like that is always a decent amount of time. Wayne Whaley says, do the Fever players' lack of production and Unrivaled concern anyone? No, not me. I don't think Aaliyah Boston's game is tailored for that. I don't think Lexi Hull is somebody that plays off of others, not creating for herself. And Katie Lou Samuelson isn't on the team anymore. Who else is there? Anybody else? No. So it doesn't really concern me much. Caitlin and Kelsey would be the ones who would cook in our rival. Thank you, Bobby. All right, y'all. Until the next one, that'll do it. Yeet.